Hello guys, welcome to another video. Jumper for Kenyans side here. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to another 4 Home program video. Halloween is a bit early, but don't worry. I was trying to get a little bit of the spooky spirit in there, but don't worry. In this video, we're going to be going over specifically how air resistance influences bike parts, how bike parts are essentially influenced by air resistance. To the Kenyans watching and to all those watching, we're going to have a special Bernoulli's principle video coming up, and we're probably going to put some Halloween elements to it, so stay tuned on that. And I want to give a shout out to Brian as well. He was able to incorporate our last lesson into this lesson as well. He made these slides, very entertaining slides as well. And yeah, leave a comment down below if you guys think that these slides are better or the ones that I've made. So yeah, so in this video, we're going to be going over these topics as well. And to the Kenyans watching and to all those watching, big project coming up to date. We're doing the best we can. If you guys have anyone who can, I'm gonna just say it in this video. If you guys have anyone who can be a mechanic, we would love to have a mechanic to teach Unit 5 for us. Please let us know. And yeah, I also was informed from some people that the bullet points and the some of the content that's in each slide, it's a bit shifted when you do it with the camera, so I apologize for that. But I guess what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to minimize it, and I'll see what I can do to fix that. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin. So let's talk about really what parts do bikes already have to resist air. That's a very good question that one can ask, and definitely a very good question. All questions suffice. So some good examples that we can talk about, for example, are bike frames. Bike frames are intentionally designed to not be perfect tubes. Instead, they are curved in orientation, and it's bent similarly to airfoil. Remember the planes lesson that we've talked about? The reason why they're intentionally designed this way is because airfoils, they tend to be in curves, so it's not always straight. The air is flowing surrounding the airfoil. It's going to bend, and obviously, with that means that the airfoil is not going to be perfect. That means that curves tend to, coincide with the tube of the bike. So the tubes are essentially curved, the airfoil is curved. So the behavior obviously would mean that the behavior of the airfoil would essentially align with specific designs of the bike, if that kind of makes sense. But you guys can take a look at this as well. The next thing that we'll talk about is bike wheels. Once again, for bike wheels, they're designed to have as little area as possible and maintain an airfoil shape. If you have tiny spokes and thin rims, this will help maintain the airfoil shape itself. We also have bike handlebars. They have the same thing. And yeah, the thin handlebars as well, they also help maintain an airfoil shape as well. Yeah, leave a comment down below what animal you guys think this is. Actually, he was able to talk about this last time about the handlebars. But yeah, again, so the main thing that I want you guys to just take in mind and keep in mind and consider is that the behavior of the airfoil will determine your essential design of what you want for your bike. So yeah, thin handlebars, tiny spokes, thin rims, and a bent bike frame shape. Yes, these are all elements for how we can essentially use that to when it's adapting to airfoil. Yeah. There is a trend that we've been seeing a lot, and our team has also been seeing that a lot, is that there's a very clear trend in making bikes aerodynamic recently. That's what we're seeing nowadays, is that there's a minimization of the frontal area of the bike. So that's basically where the air may pass by with ease. Air is going to flow very easily once the frontal area of the bike is minimized. The curve of the parts to have an airfoil-like shape, which is essentially similar to a teardrop, so that they may slice through the air with ease. So the curvier the parts, that would mean that the air would essentially slice the parts would essentially slice the air with ease. So that means that way the air can pass much more easily when the bike is going through the air itself. So over here we can see here that these are some parts that we can see here with this trend. So the top tube wider than the head tube increases form of drag. The sloping tube increases the frontal area, but we want this to be minimized. We want to always minimize this so that way the air would pass by with ease. So that means we would want a smaller slope. We have a sharp and abrupt changes in shape, which creates the vortices that increase the drag feature with no benefit because the drag is going this direction. It's going to the left. And there's an abrupt change in shape with the frame design as well, definitely. There's an exposed cable and the boundary layer with exposed guide, and that creates an interference drag and a resultant vortices, which makes sense because air is essentially trying to pass through with ease. And if you minimize the frontal area, that would mean that you want essentially the bike parts, the airfoil and the air itself, to pass through easily within the bike. The dual training edge as well is also influenced. Horizontal is better profile, and we haven't talked about horizontal profile. We'll talk about that later, but we can also see here that there's a sharp corners and indentations on the frame cause separation of boundary layer, increasing the drag as well. So what I'm essentially doing here is that I'm reading the diagram as we're going along, but I'm also incorporating these 2 bullet points really. The main 2 things that we're seeing here, just keep in mind, the reason why we're seeing these changes in the drag and the vortices, etc., it's all saying that for the air to pass by with ease, the frontal area of the bike has to be minimized, and in order for the airfoil-like shape to slice through the air, we want curvier parts. That's essentially the main idea and the gist that we want when we're talking about this common trend that we're seeing in bike aerodynamics. So what else can we add to bike parts to make them even more aerodynamic, more plain kind of aerodynamic, kind of Air Swift bike, you know? Taylor Swift. No, Air Swift. Air Swift bikes. Well, let's name it that. Let's name it Air Swift bikes. So carbon foil. Yes, carbon foil is in fact one of them. What is this carbon foil? Carbon foil is a material used in bikes. It is lightweight, strong, and easy to manipulate. So thus it's super useful for making thin and airfoil-like bike frames that are still strong enough to support the bike. The pros of this is that there's reduced drag. It's better at absorbing friction than aluminum, usual bike material. In that case, that would mean that the drag is also going to be reduced. If you can absorb the friction, you can also absorb the drag. There's some cons at this point with using carbon foil. It's typically expensive. Of course, prices and everything with material wise, it's expensive. It's vulnerable to strong and sharp impact, and there is minor environmental impact. We'll talk about environmental impact later on in Unit 8, but right now, just think of these 3 as the cons for carbon foil. It's very useful, though expensive, but it's also useful, especially when you're trying to endure through, especially if you want to make your bike actually really aerodynamic. The next thing we'll talk about is deep section wheels. This is also another one to make the bikes even more aerodynamic. What is this deep section wheel? Deep section wheels are wheels with particularly thick rims. We've talked about thin rims, but you can also make them thick rim. You can also make the rims thick. I hope no one takes that sussly. Oh, why sussly? Don't take that into a sus context. But deep sections, they're wheels. These kind of wheels have particularly thick rims, and they allow air to move more uniformly and flow past the wheels with ease. The pros for this is there's reduced drag, and it's faster on flat terrain. Cons is that it increases the weight on the bicycle, because the thicker the rims, they would add weight on the wheel itself, and it catches wind very easily, so which can be hard to manage for the bikers, especially when you're trying to move forward and pedal. Obviously, the more wind would mean that they're going to have to try to control the wheels a lot better, and it might require more force, but also control, especially with the handlebars, because you want to make sure that you drive correctly, especially in aerodynamic conditions, very bad aerodynamic conditions. So we can see here that road bike wheel depth explanation. We can see here that I'm just going to summarize this. The disc of the wheel, it's essentially once you increase it by millimeters, you can see here what the weight, aero, comfort levels are. Apparently, what you can see here, I would say the more balanced all of them are, the balance of stars, which would probably fall into the 35 millimeter or the 50 millimeter category. These would be the best bet for weight, aero, and comfort dynamics. The next thing that we'll talk about now is aerodynamic bike clothing. This is another way to make your biking journey very aerodynamic. You can make the bike journey very aerodynamic. So to make it very aerodynamic, we can see here that how can we be more. I just got distracted for a bit. Give me 1 second. It's all good. All right. So how can we be more aerodynamic without advanced bike parts? With aerodynamic clothing, which is designed to be smooth and tight-fitting so that air may easily flow across and past your body, and that way you can still move your bike when enduring bad air conditions. The pros for this is reduced drag, more comfortable to wear as opposed to loose-fitting clothes in windy conditions. Cons, though, it's high cost. Everything is high cost now. Even if you want to get a milk, it's expensive. It's like $8, and it can get hot easily. Not much of a benefit at lower speeds as well. So the main thing that to consider with all these parts is that they have a tendency to reduce drag. If they're reducing drag, then you can endure bad air conditions, essentially. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions related with biking, you guys can email us, and you guys can also contact us directly as well with our number. And to all those watching, we have some events coming up, and we'll definitely post some events that we're coming up. We are partnering with other organizations, and we're seeing what we can do, and we want to get this matter cleaned up with the orphan situation that's going on. We want to give them a second chance in life. So if you guys want to take a look at that GoFundMe, take a look at that GoFundMe. And also, we have special stuff coming out soon, so stay tuned on that. Thank you guys.